to see if Train proves to be a successful story and we can get that all-important third overpass again. We had it yesterday. We had a really fun experience with Astralis and Vitality going at it. It would be great to see it again, but obviously Nip will want to put this to bed as soon as possible.
Already is NIP kicking things off on the T side. A 3-man B stack in the early rounds. A 2-man B stack coming out from the side of Heroic. Yeah, Cadian's dead within the first few seconds. Now, it seems like him being the information player normally means that there's not anybody else on this side. So they might not be expecting Scorn to be here. And well, that's not a man you want to leave unchecked.
Borup can hear so many footsteps all around him now. He could come and deny the bomb plant. He's a little bit too late, but still takes the head off of both Hampus Res and now Plopsky. Borup feeling it. They need a player to really step up, and Borup's gone in for 4. A perfect retake. Borup take a bow. That was beautiful to watch.
Yeah, that was my mistake. It was Borup on the site, and then this is what I'm talking about. Like, as they walk in, because Cadian's in such an aggressive position, he looks like the spotter, right, Vince? You're like, okay, if there's a man spotting this far back, that probably means they had an A site stack, because if you've got that much information, why would you have extra players on B? So Borup's position goes completely unchecked because of that, and well, he may not have had the best first map, but he has absolutely styled on them in the first round of the second.
I was watching him the whole time and it caught me off guard. I don't even want to think of what Nip were thinking as the bullets passed between their eyes. Just unreal flicks across the board. I'm not sure how Testis didn't take more damage from that grenade. It looked like it landed right on him, but Cadian taking the first of the round. Could be more to follow as Thorn is going to get flashed in. Perfect flashbang and follow-up. We asked the question, and we kind of answered it too. It was more rhetorical in nature that Heroic can indeed reset after getting battered in the first map, and doesn't get too much better than this. Clean sweep. Plopsky, the only player that has mounted up any kind of resurgence, any kind of retaliation from the Swedes. Still healthy and has Nork with a scout, but a HE lands on top of him, and Nico will be striking from above, leaving Nork, a player that has so much ability, so much talent. And he does have control of the bomb. Whether he can thread some of the eyes of the needles or not is yet to be seen, and Cadian will silence him. Heroic off to a 2-0 lead.
So there was an interview earlier in the day that if people tuned in a little bit late, they might have missed. The question was asked by Frankie of like, what's the perfect teammate? Like, that's what they were asking. And Cadian sort of talked about like people who list and all this stuff. The answer's Borup. The answer is Borup. He gets a 4K in the pistol round, drops an AWP and picks up an MP9. Like, that's a teammate that if you play like Pugs or matchmaking, they don't exist. There's no one like that. Like, that is a selfless act. Like, you carry the pistol around and then hand an AWP over to your in-game leader. Not something you normally see in a second round whatsoever, mainly because of the cost and also the risk if they do go for some pistols. But clearly Heroic were ready for some sort of force buy in the last round. And well, you know what? They kept it pretty damn clean. Their money's now going to be building. And that's what you need on a map like Train. Like, Train is one that not only is famous for his AWPing, double AWPs are very common, but also you need that early utility for A main and B. Like, you need to be able to deny those pushes. That's why you can see one player play the B site so often, because of the incendiaries and smokes they can hold for the ramp. And also that A main aggression that comes out from teams so regularly. There's a reason there's a spot called Olov, and that's because he used to jump out there every single round.
We've mentioned Borup, and he is on a warpath. It's 4 kills again. Sure, it's against an eco, but his aim was crisp, and he's got an ace on top of it. He's also such a happy-go-lucky kind of guy, always smiling and laughing. So in that interview with Frankie, had a pretty interesting insight to Borup as well when he was asked the question of, like, you know, are you guys going to be able to take it on Vertigo? He said, I have full faith in Cadian. He's an unpredictable IGL. He'll keep us on the path. It didn't end up working out, but it goes to show you that he has full confidence in his IGL. Doesn't seem like he has any kind of ego, any shortcomings just yet. Great start for Heroic though here, Tom, and this is what I was hoping to see.
Yeah, and it's a scary one at that, because although you mentioned like shortcomings, the one thing with Barup is a lot of the time he is taking that supportive role. So you're not going to see him top fragging too often and like getting these crazy stats. The fact that he's helped his team get the first couple of rounds, that adds real depth to this heroic roster. It gives other players the chance to free things up, but I love that. The bait jump pulls in Cadian, and Nork will slam him straight into the ground. A great start for the Ninjas. Something that can be quite difficult on this map in general is finding those opening picks. Now, Tessus got very, very close. He's going to have to try and run out of there, but will make it into the smoke. However, it means he can't really stay within Pop anymore, and they're going to have to try and reposition now in this round.
We saw Nip leading pretty much the entirety of Vertigo. We haven't really seen what they can do when they're up against it, when the pressure is being applied. Storm, pixel perfect aim onto Hampus, doesn't want to overextend, knowing that Main additionally is vulnerable. He may get forced down. Burrup in the Pop Dog, changing up his angles. Nico now winning a trade. All the individual duels going the way of Heroic up until Nork puts the bullet onto Tessis. But there's only 15 seconds left. And Nip will try and scurry away in the form of Nork to save. So Heroic off to an even better start now. They move 4-0 ahead. And I'm not sure that Nork will actually hold on to this AWP. Money is good for Heroic. They can justify throwing in some guns, but Nork splatters Burrup in midair. He does hold on to the AWP, and they could feasibly get a buy behind this, but it still won't be ideal.
Yeah, the problem with these sort of scenarios is the next round will likely be a problem if they don't invest. Like, sure, if they get a bomb plant, then Nork could be able to drop, and it really isn't that much of a problem at all. Interesting. Hampus' best Vertigo map on Nip until today was a +2. To be fair, since he's been in NIP, it's been a map that, as he sort of said, when he joined, everything went downhill, and they've had a big rework on it. But it's good to see, like, especially with their current map pool. They've got quite a few maps they're happy to play. But I would say, again, we're looking at home maps, and there aren't too many that I would say are prominent. Like, they like to pick Train, they like to throw an overpass in there, but there's not one where I would think, oh, they're definitely going to win that. If they can add Vertigo in, they've already taken down a team like Heroic, who, as we've said, have been one of the teams that have played it a significant amount over the last few months. That could be a pretty big addition to their map pool. So good signs for the Ninjas. Hey, top 4 at this tournament already. I don't think too many people would have necessarily predicted that with just bringing Nork back. They got a lot to do in this one. A good start, and while Storm is eventually going to trade things back to keep things even for now, his secondary AWP is definitely something to be feared. I think it's even arguable that at times it's more deadly than the primary AWP.
I think it's a fair assessment. Absolutely. Definitely isn't a weakness in that double AWP. And just to put the Hampus stat into context, he was +7 against Heroic in the first map, 112 ADR and a 1.53 rating. Not too shabby, especially considering that he was the player that stood tall on the B site with the MP9 to get an ace against oncoming AK-47s, and that really set the first half in motion. The first half here, though, has been all the way of the Danes. This the best opportunity that Nip have had. A 3-on-3 with the HP advantage, but that grenade is money. Lands onto Twist and softens him up to 39. Counter flashes are good. Affords Plopsky the chance to get across onto the site and go for the plant, but his teammate has been taken down in the form of Nork, and now Twist. And Plopsky has to peek out, not sure if he's getting pushed upon or being flanked, and Storm will chomp down on him. These two AWPs are doing so much damage.
Yeah, this is something that I think a lot of teams will really want to deny when playing up against a roster like Heroic. Like, we know that Cadian can put up some ridiculous numbers at times, and Storm, well, he's the star of the show. You're not going to doubt him. The fact that they've been able to get an AWP in since round 2, courtesy of Barup, it's a pretty terrifying prospect, and the money is still looking pretty damn good for the side of Heroic. And interestingly, on the other side, they're still going to invest into this round. I personally would have liked to see them go for a slightly lighter buy, but it looks like they're just going to go for a pace change. A fast push in towards the A site, at least for Rez. Unfortunately for him, it's more orbs.
Yeah, and even more unfortunately, Cadian had the best possible spawn, I think, for a mid-peak. So even though he jumped out, it was straight into an AWP's hands. Storn using that smoke, couple of gaps in there. Hampus with an important counter frag. And you hit the nail on the head, mixing up the pace, getting aggro, but have a look at that utility bar. Collectively, they have one flash. They have to do so much with so little. Against two AWPs, one way of mitigating the AWP prowess is having smokes down, having flashes in their eyes, blinding them. Getting up close and cutting off the angles. That's exactly what Hampus does. It's Nico that gets put down. Cadian jumping on top of the spools, converts, and now Testis shows his hand from top dog, but Twist does counteract for his first kill. Uncharacteristic slow start, but Storn, if he gets slow peaked, he will be the favorite to take down this frag. Awesome. Footsteps and now an incendiary in the face of Twist, so he knows at least one player's to his left-hand side, and Cadian goes in on Plopsky. They don't realize, though, that Twist is still here. In the Ivy, they go back to check it again. The timing may work against Twist. If he slow peaks, he's a dead man, and Cadian pulls the trigger. Nip put down again.
They can't beat the orbs. They can't even get close to them. Like, this round, I think, began and ended with Hampus. Like, again, he's making plays that he really shouldn't be getting away with. Like, sneaking out, like, this is such a common play. And he manages to catch 2 kills. I'm like, you know what? Considering they had no utility, that's really impressive. The problem is, then it just comes back down to pick play, and that's where Heroic have been winning every single individual duel. These two have been dominating. We're going to sound like a broken record at this point, but they need a counter for the AWP. This round at least, well, I was going to say they haven't invested, but some of them have. Hampus goes for a hero AK, gets instantly taken down, but it might be a couple of hero Deegs. They managed to find some extra weaponry. Nork even has an orb. Now, it's still not a good situation, but it's a workable one.
Nico's played this so patiently, though. They were not anticipating a player up close to barrel the gun around the corner. Nork, though, a little bit too quick on the trigger. And that will cost him dearly. And Heroic already off to a 7-0 scoreline. Complete role reversal from Vertigo, Tom. How things have changed.
What is with Danish teams and just these like ridiculous starts? So we watched this yesterday when we saw Astralis just completely blow out Vitality on map number 2, or map number 1, sorry, and then lose the next 2. Heroic didn't really perform that well in the last map, and I've started off with this. And you can see, again, it's the same as what we said for NIP in the last map. It's the confidence change. Look at the angles Cadian is currently holding. This is as bold as it gets. He needs his teammates to try and hold on to Pop. If anything, if the player on Pop, Tessus, dies, they basically lose this round. Instead, they've lost the Ivy player. Cadian's still committed. He has absolutely no fear, it seems, and they've almost lost the B-sides down to Nico. Cadian's still pushing in, and eventually he's going to get punished.
Understandable why he'd go aggressive, though, with 2 of his teammates having been dealt with. And now Tessis, awkward position. T's looking towards him. They seem to realize that he's here. Can see but Plopsky staring down the ramp, and he's being pinted in from Hampus. Tessis, it's been nice knowing you, but it's all over. 7-1. Nip have got themselves around finally, but what they desperately need is consistency, and Heroic will be straight back in with another buy, probably another double AWP round.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense that that round was won via a team ace for NIP, because that was just 1-by-1 different duels being handed to them by Heroic. And the fact is, you can't really blame Heroic too much in that scenario because everything has been working for them so far. So they're going to take these riskier plays. They're going to try and shut NIP out of this game completely. I imagine now we're going to see more of a standard round coming out from them. And in fact, it does involve more aggression. They've got an initial take onto Ivy. Cadian looking to try and pressure that position once again. In the meantime, There's going to be a lot of utility being invested to try and get rid of Testis out of pop. It looked like they're about to dunk some nades over the top. Downs just hit a worldie of a shot while they're at it. And unfortunately, the nades, I like the idea, but I don't think the Molotov quite forced him as far back as they would have liked.
And losing Twist on Ivy is certainly going to be a bit of a detrimental moment in the round where Nip can't really force him out and try and draw some rotations. So now it will have to be blunt force trauma instead. They'll have to brutalize their way out onto the A side. You feel like from these positions that are being attained down in Pop Dog, they have got rid of Testis, but that's really only the first hurdle they've navigated over. There's a ton more to deal with. 35 seconds. Testis now, different angle. Had a very slow first map, but it's starting to wake up. Dink on Plopsky. He is low. Hamper's finished off. I said they needed consistency. But the only constant in this map has been Nip getting absolutely demolished. Nork now with 15 seconds. We've been here before, maybe thinking about the possibility of saving, but he gets pushed out through the smoke, and it's Tessis who lands a second and picks up that double up once more.
Right, it seems like we took a slight deviation from our initial path, but yeah, this. What do you even do against something like that? I saw it from the other point of view, and I was like, yeah, that does seem like a ridiculous shot. But you know what? It looks even better from his point of view. Amper's killed Testis 8 times without replying, and Twist did the same to Nico on Vertigo. Yeah, I was definitely thinking that Testis, he had a uncharacteristically quiet game, and in fact, he's having one right now. It just doesn't really matter. I don't think pop pressure has been something NIP have put too much into, other than throwing utility down there. And it seems on the other side of things, they're constantly putting pressure onto the likes of Cadian and Storn, and they've come out with flying colors. Also, Barup obviously having 2 4K rounds has put him quite far up the board. But yeah, another timeout. No real surprises there, Vince. When you're getting banged this hard, you do need a little bit of a break. I'm expecting, though, that if NIP can even get like sort of 5 rounds here, it's not over. Like, that's the thing with Train. Like, it's definitely the map where you see the most CT-sided halves. In fact, I would say at the moment it's definitely the most CT-sided map that we currently have in Counter-Strike. So, although this looks very, very bad for the Ninjas, if they can get to 5, I don't think they're out.
I'd agree, but it doesn't look like they were getting around anytime soon. The grenade damage, so very devastating. Hampers down to 9. Orp pick onto Plopsky. And this is right off the back of a tactical timeout. You know, it's like a detoxing period. You get all of the troops on the same page, and then instantly those pages get ripped out the book. And it's the same script again. No. Cadian spins around, pivots in for another one. And Nip just can't catch a break, Tom. Like, at this point, just throw in the towel, guys. This is too brutal to watch.
Getting absolutely slaughtered. I'd love to see them try and put a little bit more pressure on the B side. Like, sure, Nico's been doing a pretty good job, but I want to see them try and just get away from this double AWP setup. We haven't seen a proper rush in that direction. We haven't even seen like a proper deep take to allow them to get into after-plant positions. Mostly, we've only seen those sort of plays when they've had pistols, which I think a lot of teams do sometimes when things aren't working. They'll try something in a round where they only have pistols. They go, oh, that didn't work. And in the back of the mind, it's like, oh, yeah, B hasn't been working. So then they just continue to bombard this A site. And, well, it hasn't been going great. A rifle this time for Storn in a perfect position. He's just going to destroy them. Bomb dropped. Round done. It's all about damage.
Well, they at least get one, but it feels like a consolation kill more than anything else. Nearly a second onto Storn, who's got a 4K. A 3-man spray onto Ivy. And Rez, the only thing that separates Storn and an ace. He doesn't have the bomb, so he has to traverse his way back over onto the Ivy side of the map. Obviously, he wants to die before time. He doesn't want to be saving and holding on to a Deagle and Kevlar when they could have a goodbye into the next one. So he will go in for this. We will see more bloodshed. Maybe he can make this a costly round. Hell, maybe even he can pull off a play to get Nip motivated, inspired back into this. We've seen some absolutely ridiculous 1v4 clutches, mainly from Zai Wu, of course. And now Rez, there's the first. Position now tenable. Heroic know this. They scramble into action. Rez, there's another one. Takes the head off of Nico. Now begins to believe. He knows where Cadian is. That no-scope is something sublime. But he doesn't know where Borup currently resides. 20 seconds to play with. Rez already with a 3K. Looking, hunting for his prey. Tries to plant in amongst the smoke, but there is Borup to deny him. It's such a nice try. You can see a bit of a grimace on his face. He knows it was so close, yet so far.
The second and third kill were just unbelievable. It didn't even look like he stopped running for the no-scope. Oh, he wasn't even in the smoke. I wondered why that kill was so easy for Borup. Oh, that's heartbreaking. A very, very nice try. NT's definitely making it into the chat, but unfortunately, it might not matter. Now, it's the same play from Hampus. I think he's got away with this, I want to say once, where he gets 2 kills and they still lost the round. Evidently, they have only won 1 round. This stack, though, from Heroic is a complete change. They have not done this just yet. They're still being dynamic. Tessus even expects him. I think Hampus has become way too predictable, and Heroic have been anything but. It's still going to be a decent trade for them, but then Cadian backs things up with some extra utility, even throwing the HE into upper, which is going to catch Nork, who's currently armorless. If anything, I think 54 damage is kind for where that nade landed. Even still, though, the IGL is just as low. You have to be a little bit careful not to let this one slip.
Could be a fast track back into the half. As we said before, 5 rounds would be good enough. Maybe even 4 and a squeak. And Cadian missing the shot into ramp, albeit through smoke. We can let him off for that one. But there is a player behind the spools. That will be Tessis. AK... As a flashbang comes out, Nork, now posted up on the catwalk, delivers the fatal blow onto Cadian. Twist will mitigate this very position as the result of pushing past the train, but it's all about that second player. Nork has the bomb under control, and now Tessis shows his hand. They know where Tessis is, but it's only an AWP against him, and at that kind of range, the AK will shine. Pivots into an 11-1, and Nip just cannot convert these opportunities.
It's a really good round from Testis. And you have to think as well, like if Hampus catches him there, this all could have been avoided. I just love how dynamic Heroic are being, though. There hasn't really been a setup that they've thrown in more than like a couple of times. They're constantly changing things up, and it just makes things so difficult for the Ninjas. It was something I mentioned. I don't think they've really gone for too much of a B play thus far. Heroic clearly on the same wavelength and set up a perfect trap for their play. Once again, Vince, unfortunately, it's not going to be too much invested into this one. Although I do like the change to pull in lots of extra utility. Borup, though, who has been fantastic so far, maybe in a fairly aggressive position here, waiting for them to try and throw their nades over the top.
Having a real stranglehold over this map, it's like Nip have never really felt that much of a threat going forward. Especially early in the round, you had Hampus get battered by Tessis on that peak, knowing it was coming into play. But apart from a couple times where they've tried their hand at that, we've not really seen Nip go too aggressively. And when they have, they've been dealt with, as we're seeing again. Just getting slapped right in the face by the Orpus Thorn, who's gone in for another. It's a 3K. Just styling on Nip. Straight up battering them at every given turn. It's another clean sweep. And if you missed the first map, by the way, you'd never think it, but Heroic lost it. The way they're playing right now, you'd assume that they're about to win this best of 3.
Yeah, I think one of the only good things about that first map for Heroic was this man here, and he's coming close to beating his frag tally from the last map. 19-4. Some of the players on his team haven't even had to do that much. Like Tessis is 9-4. And as I said, it's not that he's playing particularly bad, at least in this map. He just hasn't had anything to do. And even when he does, it's going to be aggression towards Pop. He should be dead here for sure. He does so much damage. it's actually going to be Nork to die as well. Baruch chiming in. Plopsky goes for the trade. I don't know how on earth Testis is surviving here in Twist while a last-ditch effort to find a kill. It's 13-1, Vince. This is to try and get into, well, what is basically one more match to get to the final. And we're seeing a 13-1 on an IP's map choice.
Absolutely. It has been just a complete and utter closed case. At no point have you felt like Nip have been in this game. At no stage. They do have an entry. It's at least something they can start to work behind. There we go, a second, but Storm again. He's already on for over 20, flicking left and right, and nearly gets another one, but softens them up low enough. It will read 14 rounds heroic, 1 to Nip as we move into the second half. Stay tuned. Scintillating Storm stuns the ninjas. He was absolutely on fire. 22 kills to his name, rifles, pistols, AWPs, it didn't matter. And now Heroic 14-1 in the lead. You read that right. You heard that right. That is the legitimate score. Nip have been completely dismantled. And on the CT side, they look to get aggressive through Boxhall, stacking 4 players at range, using the USP. But it's going to be Testis, of course, with a Glock from downtown who takes the head off of Rez, and now the T's can start to snake their way up and get close and personal. Use the Glocks where they're at their most powerful, and Storm now ripping in with headshots, goes in for another, but it's Borup that now stands up against Hampus. He's behind in terms of HP, a much-needed round for Nip to try and salvage this, and Hampus at least locks it down. There is a way back, but it will be littered with obstacles, littered with problems. But the Swedes at least have a chance.
Nice round from Nork. It's going to be the one that ultimately gives them the pistol. And there was a couple of players there who managed to get a kill just before they died, which, well, it would just about save them here. And we got a lot of flashbangs here, Vince, which it's obviously a round that we don't expect much, but it excites me at least a little bit. Let's see what they can do with them. Got Barup at least out a little bit further, but ultimately this round is just going to be a slaughter. Finally, something to celebrate if you are a Ninjas fan, other than maybe the first map. Fact is, though, if you did miss the first half of this map, you've pretty much missed the map.
Yeah, that pretty much sums it up, Tom. But NIP, hot off the back of the pistol, have dealt the fatal blow on the eco as we expected, and now there should be some weapons finding their way into the hands of Heroic. It will include AKs, and 5 of them to be exact. So NIP didn't fully invest in their SMGs. They only have one on Plopsky, and they've got an AUG. So it's not as if NIP come through with 2 or 3 SMGs against full AK-47s. They have a way to maybe make this a bit costly, to maybe just stall out this game and delay the inevitable. And sometime in the very distant future, Tom, if they can string together a whole bunch of rounds, I might even begin to believe in the comeback.
Yeah, I was about to say, what are you eating if NIP bring this one back?
My
Maybe
word.
some nice Swedish fish. I heard they do some interesting stuff down there.
I can't remember what it's called. It begins with an S, though, I think.
Ooh, I don't think you're gonna have to worry about it, if I'm honest. But I think we might have to save that for another time. Nork, though, he has managed to get one, and Tessus is fairly low on HP. Now, normally we talk about this being a little bit of a bonus round, but let's be real, it's not. They've got 2 players on no cash. In fact, the third in Hampus as well. So NIP, more than ever, need this round. Otherwise, map 3 is more than likely, and wow, Stown is just not stopping. He's in the middle of the A side. He's looking to hold it on his own. Hampus at least puts him down, but that's the ruse. And look at where Nico is. He's looking to push him from behind. Maybe if Nork got 2 there, there's some hope. But instead, he's heard the rotation. Hampus has no idea. Why would he? You're not going to expect him to be there. 15-3. Fist bumps to try and keep the motivation going. But the fact is, their money is wrecked. And they've got to try and win 12 rounds in a row just to get overtime.
It is looking a little bit grim. They do have an AWP and an M4. Nork, have a look at the kill disparity between him and the rest of the troops on NIP. Pretty jarring. 16 kills. He's had a good performance, but other than that, it's been so one-sided. A colossal effort on Heroic. They do get the first kill one more time, and what could very well be the last time on train. NIP now struggling. They have been submerged. They have a flashbang. That's basically it. Of course, no kits. They went for as much firepower as they possibly could. Scavenge out of this buy. And Heroic slowing it down. We've seen them play super aggressive. Now they're going to let NIP stew on this. Sweat it out. See if they maybe go for some desperation plays. Go for an over-rotation.
Smokes being set up. Molotovs to clear out any of the closer angles, the places that would be at risk, and the players of NIP are left so blind as they enter this site. Nork's AWP is left without a chance in hell, and Plopsky needs to be a hero. He's managed to drop the bomb. It's a shame there's still 40-odd seconds on the clock, otherwise that might have made a difference. Rez and Nork to try and pull off the impossible, to start off a comeback that never should have been. Now, we saw Rez with the Deagle pull off something pretty crazy not too long ago. He didn't manage to win the round, but if he can chime in a little bit, help out Norksor, maybe there's a chance, but they don't have a kit. So they need to get moving because Heroic, they're not going to face into them here. They've got absolutely no reason to. And now it's left on to Nork. The time ticking away. 2 players still to find. Otherwise, map 3 is more than certainly on the cards. And Storn, as he began, will shut it down. 27-7 is where he